Hey, what's up, everyone? Good to see you all again. I'm jumping on today because last weekend there were two medical emergencies just in the community that I happened to go to because I felt like I had the skills to be able to help, and it's a bit of a privilege that I have these skills and I can jump into these situations. So the first one, part of this app, is called the Good Sam app, and essentially it tells me whenever there's a medical emergency in my vicinity, and I can accept or decline to go to it and help out if I can. So that went off for the first time on Saturday. I uploaded it a few weeks ago, and there was a person who had a cardiac arrest. By the time I got there, the fireys were already there and the paramedics, and they were working on the patient. So I wasn't actually needed at that one. So I just checked in. I said I was a junior doctor at Auckland City Hospital and asked if they needed any help, but they said that everything was under control. They were doing CPR and they seemed to be doing all the right things before they got her to hospital. So I didn't get involved in that one, but I went along to just see if I could lend a hand. The second one, I didn't get alerted on my app. It was actually, I was passing by on my way back from the gym, and I saw this lady who was leant over a bush and she was vomiting into the bush, and she was quite unresponsive. She was groaning, making sounds, and whenever someone was talking to her, she wouldn't respond appropriately. So she was just groaning and whatnot. So there were 3 security guards surrounding her, but there was no one who had any medical knowledge. There were no paramedics or doctors or nurses. It was just in the community. The reason the security guards were there is because it was just down the road from the mall, and some members of the public had probably got in touch with the mall to see what was going on. So I crossed the road, asked the security guards if they need help, introduced myself, told them that I was a junior doctor, and got underway and assessed the patient. For a while she wasn't too responsive, but then she came to and told me a little bit of what was going on. An ambulance had already been called for her, so I didn't need to do that, but the good thing about having these kinds of skills is it gives you confidence to jump in and potentially save someone's life. But if it's not like if the patient isn't in any acute danger of losing their life, or there's no threat to life, then it just gives you confidence to approach these situations and know what to do for them. You don't have to fix the issue, but if you can just rely on basic principles, then you can stabilize them until they get further help. So it's for these reasons, I think, that everyone should have the bare basics of CPR, right? And for people who don't know what CPR is, it's cardiopulmonary resuscitation. And it's what you do if someone is unresponsive and not breathing. And the second patient didn't need CPR, but if you know about what the basics are of the state, then it can take you a long ways. There's an acronym that's Doctors ABC. So D is dangers. So you want to essentially check for dangers before you approach any of these situations, because you don't want to become a victim yourself. So say there was a car crash on a busy road, one of the dangers would be all the traffic that was passing by. Or if there are power lines that had come down, then obviously the power lines can be a danger. Or if you're at the beach, then the water in the ocean can be a danger, because there's a threat of drowning, or if you're not a strong swimmer. So all these dangers you have to take into account so that you don't put yourself in further danger, because then you have 2 people who are in trouble instead of just one, the patient you're looking after. Second letter of the doctor's ABC is R, so response. So response is you want to try and get a response out of the patient. And there's different levels to response, but the most simple way of thinking about it is with an acronym called AVPU. So are they alert? Do they respond to voice? Do they respond to pain? Or are they unresponsive? So you assess their level of consciousness, and if they're unresponsive, then you should send for help, which is what the S in the acronym is. If they're at a different level of consciousness, like they only respond to voice or they only respond to pain, then They may also need a ambulance as well. It depends what's going on. The safe thing is to call an ambulance, and if you need to cancel it, then cancel it. But you want to send off for an ambulance as soon as possible, so that higher medical aid that is on its way. So when you send for help, if you have bystanders around you, you want to point at someone and say, you go call an ambulance, tell them the address you're at, what you suspect the situation is, and the key about this is to tell them to come back once they've done that. That way you know that the ambulance is on its way, and you know that that's all confirmed, so that you don't need to worry about it. And then you get into the ABC of the acronym. So A is airway. You have to make sure that the airway is open, so that then the patient can get oxygen in and carbon dioxide out, because without oxygen they can't oxygenate their brain, and they'll turn hypoxic and they can't perfuse their organs with oxygen. So it's really crucial that they have their airway open. So a lot of people know about the head tilt chin lift, and that way you can ensure that the airway is open. The head tilt chin lift is only for adults and for kids, but for babies they actually have their neck in a neutral position. Then you want to check for breathing. So look, listen, feel. So you can look and see their chest rise and fall. The listen is you listen to their breath. You can put your ear to their mouth, and if you can feel them breathing, then that's a good sign as well, because you can feel it against your cheek. So that's the breathing. And then C, you can quickly check for carotid pulse, but often your heart will be racing at this point, so it might be hard to appreciate their pulse, especially if they've got a weak pulse and it's thready, or they have an irregular heartbeat or an arrhythmia. And then from there you want to go into CPR and get a defib if it's needed, and they're unresponsive, they're not breathing, and they haven't got a pulse, because essentially what you're doing with CPR and doing compressions on the chest is you're compressing the heart, so that then it can pump blood around the body, especially to the brain, so that there's no further damage to their body. So and then you want to attach the defib as quickly as possible, because often the defibs in the community, they'll explain what you should do as you do it. It'll talk to you, so that then you know when to continue with your compressions. When it's going to give a shock, you'll probably need to press a button on it in order for it to give a shock. The defib will only work on certain arrhythmias, but the defib itself will measure the heartbeat, take a reading for it, so that then you don't have to. So these skills are life-saving. They can make a huge difference. The main thing, if CPR is needed, is compressions as early as possible. That's the main difference between someone surviving and someone not. Lots to think about in the moment. Not everyone needs CPR. Sometimes they're breathing and they'll just need to be put in the recovery position. But if you know these skills, then it gives you a lot more confidence in approaching these situations. I don't expect everyone to be a doctor. I don't expect everyone to go to university and have these higher education around these skills, but I think it's highly beneficial to know the basics of CPR, or basic first aid course, so that then you can help in these situations and know what to do, because you never know when someone might need your help. It might be a loved one, it might be a stranger in the community. Both of these situations that I went out to, they were both strangers. I didn't know them from a bar of soap, but by having these skills, I could actually jump in and do what needed to be done. The first situation I wasn't needed, and that's fine. They already had help, but the second situation, definitely relied on my medical knowledge a little bit in order to understand what was going on and ensure that they were stable before the paramedics arrived. And then when the paramedics did arrive, I could explain what was going on. For sake of confidentiality, I won't go into the specifics, but I told them what I found out about the history of the person and what they had told me. I also told them about the medications they were taking. I told them about what I found on my exam and what I think should happen when they get to hospital, but of course it's for them to decide what happens after their care. They'll do their own assessment and take their own history, but that helps them build a broader picture of what has happened, because you don't know what the patient might or might not tell them on the way to a hospital, and also they may or may not tell the medical teams at the hospital, but every bit helps. So if you can jump in, then it's a good thing. So that's just my experience from the last weekend. It doesn't happen every weekend, but when it does happen, I'm always happy to help where I can. So that's all from me. Everyone, if they're thinking about doing a first aid course, then just jump in, because these skills are truly invaluable and you never know when you may need them. So that's all from me. Hope everyone has a good one. Peace.